This is Rewriting Eden. I'm your host, Avery Robitaille, an ex-evangelical Christian, missionary kid, and cult member. And I'm facilitating the space that I desperately needed 10 years ago when I was going, holy shit, I don't think I resonate with these limiting, fear-based beliefs anymore. And my old world literally started falling apart. And right now, I am about to deep dive with pastor turned badass artist David Hayward, who you might know as NakedPastor, whose art actually got me through so many how the fuck did I believe that shit moments. He challenges problematic norms, especially in the religious spaces that inspire needed conversations in order to shift the culture into a more loving, inclusive, and expansive one. So here we go. Hi, David.
Hey, good to be together finally. We've
I
been following
know.
for quite a while, but this is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You were one of the first people I thought of, and I overthought it for about a month. I was like, what do I say? How do I write it? And then I was like, fuck it. I'll just, whatever comes to my head. And you responded like within an hour. And I was like,
You know,
oh my
it's
God.
funny. I know it's funny because I saw you the day before that you were doing a podcast. I thought, I wonder if you'll ever invite me on her show. And then the next day you were like, would you come on my show? I was like, absolutely.
That is crazy. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so crazy. I mean, they talk about how like it's studied maybe how like when you cross energies with someone or if you think of someone, it like ignites some neuro pathways or something in the other person sometimes, and then you
Yeah.
connect.
So yeah, it's good to be
Oh
with you.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I found your Instagram page. I can't really remember what year it was, but it was like early when I started questioning things and the whole like snowball of the
Uh-huh.
deconstruction process. And it was cool because I feel like you were one of the first people that I was aware of because I really didn't have like that community to be like, oh, I need help. I'm going through this. What do I do? Blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah.
Mhm.
And to see you already being bold in the best way possible with your
Yeah.
art, like, was just, yeah. Did you ever start like less bold and then become more bold, or were you always so bold with your art?
Well, that's the weird thing. People think I try to be bold or try to be offensive or try to be radical, but the whole point, like I started my blog, Naked Pastor, way back in 2005. And the whole point of the name is I'm going to be completely metaphorically naked. I'm going to be
Hell
totally
yeah.
front. I'm going to not adorn things or hide things. I'm going to just come right out with, I'm just going to be completely honest and transparent and vulnerable. And so that's the whole point behind Naked.
Mm,
And because I wanted to pull back. At the time, I was a real pastor of a real church, just not far
right.
from here. And I thought, I'm going to pull back the curtain on what really goes on in the ministry and what really goes on in the life of the pastor and just be really honest about it. So all my cartoons and everything come from that. I'm just going to spill things and just
Mm,
expose myself
right.
metaphorically again. And,
Literally.
and, lo and behold, this has happened, so it's,
Yeah.
so it's not like I'm trying to be bold. It's that I'm just expressing myself and people think it's bold. You know what I mean?
I love that. Yes, I could not relate more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling my friend about you the other day. They were like, "Naked pastor? Is he naked?" And I was like, "It's a metaphor."
Yeah. Yesterday, somebody was like, naked pastor. They wrote a comment. They said, I appreciate your work, but naked pastor, that's totally inappropriate. I'm like,
I
come
know.
on, grow up.
So funny. Like, hello, it's a metaphor. It's
I know.
2026.
Remember Naked Chef or Naked Archaeologist or Naked Truth and,
Mm,
all that kind of thing.
yeah.
People, let's have an imagination. So,
As a sleeping songwriter, I'm not actively songwriting right now, but the whole metaphor thing is like so up my alley because so many people are like, I guess same thing with the Bible and how people interpret the Bible is that like, hello, metaphors
yeah.
exist, right? And so many people take it so literally.
The Bible, that was the thing. That's where my deconstruction started way back.
Really?
I doubted the inspiration of scripture, that it was God written, you know. That to me was the beginning of the end. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Was there like a point of singularity that you
Hmm.
could trace it back to?
Absolutely. I remember the moment.
Oh
I
my
was
god.
actually graduating from my master's at a seminary
No
in New
way. The
Studies,
timing.
and it was the day. I had my gown on and everything going to the ceremony, and I all of a sudden, so I was a Bible fanatic, right? I'd taken biblical Greek, biblical Hebrew, biblical Aramaic. I was preparing for
Whoa.
a PhD in New Testament studies, and all of a sudden I thought, I don't think the Bible's inspired. Like, I don't think it's, you know? And to me, it was like
Yeah.
a Jenga block tower where that one block was removed and the whole tower crumbled. That was
Mhm.
the beginning of I was so traumatized by that thought. My wife, Lisa, had to grab me by the shoulders and say, "You're gonna be late for your graduation."
Whoa.
So that was the very singular moment. Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh my god, that is
Yeah.
so insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have a
And
singular you remember a singular moment?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was leading worship at a church in LA, and I had already been getting a shit ton of shit from my parents about it, about leading worship and then living with my boyfriend, which we've been together almost 10 years now. It wasn't a phase. Anyway, and my dad would always be like, "You can't lead worship and then lead a congregation with when you're living in sin." And at the time, I mean, it's my parents. I grew up trusting them over anybody else because their version of the Bible, their interpretation of the Bible was the right one. We were in the missions organization that was like the right one. Like we were better than all the other missions organizations essentially.
Yeah.
So for them to say that, I'm like, "What? Like, I've never not trusted you before, so why would I not
Mhm,
trust you about this?"
mhm.
Anyway, and I came home, and I laid on the bed and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I believe in Jesus anymore." And my partner, Aaron, he grew up Christian as well, and he had already deconstructed, so he, like, knew how to be there for me, thankfully, and so
Mhm,
it was very much like, it's okay if you think that or feel that. I just felt like my world was, like, in free fall, but at the same time, it was super liberating, so it's kinda like this equilibrium of, like, "What the fuck?" but also, "This
mhm,
kind of feels good in a
mhm,
way."
mhm.
Yeah. How did you feel with yours? Was it, like, gut-wrenching scary?
Yeah, I was traumatized really deeply because I still have my Bibles from when I was a teenager all underlined in different colors and writing in the margin. Seriously, I was a Bible freak. And, I went to Bible college and then went to seminary. So, yeah, it was deeply, deeply ingrained in me. But that was the foundation upon which all my spirituality rested.
Mm,
And so that was removed. I had to figure out how to be spiritual again. So, some people react to deconstruction like a mind-blowing question like yours or mine by saying, "Well, I was duped. Fuck
mm,
the whole business and walk away." Whereas mine was like, "Okay, wait, this has meant something to me. And I'm not willing to throw it all out, but I'm not willing to, own it all or believe it all either." So I
mm,
took the next 30 years to figure out how this all fit together, how
mhm,
the Bible could still be important in my life, but
mm,
not be a divine book. And yet at the same time, how can I be spiritual and, honor it for what it is and not for what it is?
mm.
So
Yeah.
that and I did that while I was in the ministry as a pastor for all those years. I'd say my deconstruction was more like a corrupt code inserted into my hard drive and just did the work
Whoa.
for years, just corrupting my theological hard drive.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too because I feel like when I first started posting about my journey and posting on YouTube and stuff, so many people from churches that I had attended
Mhm.
were writing me being like, "I am thinking the same thing," or "I don't believe in hell anymore," blah, 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 but, like, I can't tell any of my friends at church because they're gonna, like,
Yep.
shame me or act different around me, and it's like, holy
Yep.
cow, so many people are in
Mhm.
such a similar boats. Like, you have no idea what the person next to you in the pew is thinking or feeling or if they're even, like, you
Yeah.
know?
Like,
Yeah.
just imagine if, say, churches, in our case,
Mm.
provided space for us to ask questions. What a different experience we might have had, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
but when I knew that I couldn't come right out with my questions, even though I would try sometimes because you'd get smacked
Oh.
back down and put in your place, right? Like you said.
Yes.
And so it's I always think about like I'm not an enemy of the church, but I wish the church and there are some out there, but they're extremely rare that provides safe spaces for people to, grow,
Yeah.
mature, ask questions, develop, you know,
Mm. Mhm.
hard to
Yeah.
find.
They're so hard to find. Yeah, I grew up around mostly Christians. Well, I
Mhm.
guess on the mission field, you have, like, the missionary coworkers, which is, like, a whole community, like, you are
Yep.
together on Sundays at the local church, and then you have your special Sunday
Yep.
night meetings where it's just the missionaries and Tuesday night meetings and blah, blah, blah. But did you like, I know the topic of, like, loneliness when you're questioning things is a huge one. Like, are you still friends with anybody from when you were still, like, Christian?
I am, but only the ones who've also deconstructed. Yeah. So those
Interesting.
who haven't deconstructed, we find it quite awkward. Lisa and I find it quite awkward because we don't want when you get together with friends, you don't want to like sit through an interview or
Right?
cross examination or anything like that. And most of the
Mhm.
people I know who haven't deconstructed, aren't willing to, and so there's really no point in trying to change their mind or anything like that. I have no desire to change anybody's mind, but
Yeah.
it's like it's just kind of awkward and uncomfortable and everything. So yeah, we formed friendships. We have some friends still from those days, but they've also deconstructed, and we've made new friends. But yeah,
Mm,
that's one of the big ones. It sounds like the culture you came out of similar to mine, where community was everything. So when you
mm,
walk away from that, you're walking away from community and friends and support systems and families, and it's really, really traumatic and hard to get through that and get to the other
yeah.
side where you have relationships. Yeah.
Yeah,
What church
100%.
were you can I ask what missionary organization or church, whatever you were a part
Yeah,
of?
s so it was originally called New Tribes Mission, and now it's Ethnos 360.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have a base in Canada, actually.
okay.
I can't say where, but, yeah, very, very much like fundamentalist, evangelical, like the Bible literally
Yep.
vibes. Did you grow up Christian too? Like your parents taking you to church?
Yep. So when I was born, I was baptized as a baby in the Anglican
Ah,
church, which would
oh,
be your Episcopal equivalent kind of, and in Canada. And then we drifted around different churches here and there now and then. But when I was a teenager, I got like born again at a Baptist youth group.
oh,
And then I talked my family into going to the church, which was a Baptist church. And
okay.
we switched from there to Pentecostal. We went to a Pentecostal church after that.
Mm,
And then I ended up going to a Pentecostal Bible college in the States. And that's where I met
gotcha.
Lisa. So
No way.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. And so did you like with Lisa,
Uh-huh.
you guys met as Christians and then was your deconstruction journeys like alongside each other or kind of like that?
Yeah, like that's the interesting thing. Like Lisa and I, we fell madly in love
Cute.
and got married. And then we pretty much traveled spiritually pretty much together, ended up in the ministry. So I was a pastor, Lisa was a pastor's wife, and we are
Mm,
pretty much on the same page, nothing really traumatic. There were once in a while we'd differ a little bit, but we would figure it out. Where the real problem started was when we left the church in 2010. That's when everything sort of fell apart because our whole life was built around being a part of a church and leading a
right.
church and all that kind of thing. And the next couple of years after that were really, 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 really difficult.
Mm,
So we had to sort of sit down and renegotiate how to do our relationship,
yeah.
and figure that out. In fact, I wrote a whole book about it called Till Doubt Do Us Part, and changing beliefs change your marriage. So what we discovered was and this is really important, was it wasn't compatibility of belief that kept us together. It was our love for one another that
Hmm.
kept us together. So when we realized love was the glue, then we could go grow in our separate unique ways
Yeah.
and honor one another in that.
Mm.
Whereas
Hmm.
if we required compatibility of beliefs, we would have been in trouble. So
Right.
it's important to realize, what first attracted to me to Lisa was not her beliefs.
Mm.
It was her, Like I
Yeah.
say to I didn't fall in love with her beliefs. I fell in love with the believer.
Mm.
And then
That should
that
be a shirt
yeah,
or your cartoons.
yeah.
Do you already have one that says that?
No, but maybe I will. Deconstructing in a relationship, that's one of the toughest things to do, we discovered. But for
Mm.
us, it was actually when deconstruction had had an impact on our decisions about how to relate to the church. That's when it really had an impact.
Wow. So with your guys' communication, I guess before leaving the church, while you like
Mm.
post graduation, still pastor, were you like telling her all the revelations you're having?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
was it kind of like, okay, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're totally like, communication is something that we do, and we will share everything all the time. So,
Mm.
when we were first married, I mean, I was 21, she was 19,
Wow.
and, like, we were just babies. And
Hmm.
we started reading books on marriage and relationships. Of course, they were at the time, I wouldn't recommend them now, but,
Right.
uh, we were serious about a relationship and wanting to do it right and do it
Mm.
in a healthy way. And then, we would go on marriage retreats, marriage workshops. We would do marriage counseling. And one of the things that we learned really early, we actually went on a marriage encounter, which is a Roman Catholic movement, but we got permission to go and we went on 2 marriage encounters.
Wait, what's a marriage encounter?
Yeah, it's like you go away for a weekend to a monastery or something.
Whoa. I've never heard of this.
We needed special permission because we weren't Roman Catholic,
Oh,
but one
interesting.
of the things they teach after every session, you go and you communicate. So the way they teach is that you write a letter to each other after every session, and you're just completely honest, and you write to each other, and then you read each other's letters, and then you debrief. And so that was sort of ingrained in how you do relationship is you
Mm.
communicate on a very deep and open and honest level. And so that's just been a part of our vibe ever since.
Oh,
We
that's
just had our
amazing.
46th wedding anniversary. I can't
Congrats.
but I think that's how it works, communicating.
I'd say that's the number one. The same with my partner and I, like communication, even when it's like brutally honest, like, I don't know how you're going to take what I'm feeling or thinking right now, but like just
Yeah.
putting it all out there is better than, bottling. I mean, sometimes bottling still happens
Yep.
without realizing it, but as honest as you can consciously be is like such a key
It is.
relationship thing.
It is. It's also very hot. Like, it's very
Yeah.
sexy when you're intimate emotionally.
Mhm.
You can be intimate in other ways as well. So it's like that
Yeah.
that whole thing, it's just being open and honest and getting to know one another really, you know?
Yeah.
And as you
Mhm.
continue to grow, you continue to discover new and new things. I met a friend recently, he says, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. He says, "You guys still
Mhm.
have sex?" I was like,
Good question.
"Yes, of course." I says, "Don't you?" He says, "No, we've been married 30 years, man. No."
Whoa!
But see, when you continue to learn about and discover more and more about the other person, it's not boring. It's like
Mhm.
you constantly come in contact with not a new person, but a newly revealed
Right.
depth in the other person's.
If you're together with someone for your lifetime, essentially, the shifts that you go through and the evolutions and the growth that you experience, like you're like, I don't know, like 8, 9, 10 different people. Like you're still like you, but you're not the same person you were when you were 19, you know?
Yeah, I compare it to like the growth of a tree. All the rings represent
Mm.
the years, but you're different, you're larger, you've grown and
Yes.
expanded,
Mhm.
so it makes life and relationships exciting, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's one thing I've experienced with, I guess, maybe my family is I'm not who I was when I was a Christian. Like, I'm still optimistic, like very happy go lucky and like bubbly, but I've had so many thoughts since I left home at
Yeah.
18. Like now I want to talk about, anything, anything and everything. Aliens, tarot readings, like even if I don't like believe in something or practice it, like I love to talk about whatever. And then for a lot of people, so like those growth rings, like I'm adding so many growth rings in so many different aspects of my life. But for a lot of people who are still certain types of Christian, like
Uh-huh.
it's scary for them. And I was in the same exact boat back in
Yep.
the day. Like
Yep.
it's scary to think outside the box, or what if God is like, he's tallying me thinking about an alien being real because we're the only ones in the universe, like,
Yep.
or can't think about evolution because God's not going to let me in the gates, just anything, no matter how small to no matter how big, I feel.
Yeah. But our worlds were so small and narrow. I remember being afraid of, like, tarot cards or the Ouija board or Dungeons and Dragons or reading about Buddhism or meditation or, even science. It
Mm.
was post deconstruction, and I started reading outside of the lines and reading Buddhism, things like that. I would get scorned by other pastors and things when they realized what I was reading or things like that. But it was like that deconstruction, when it starts, when you start questioning, it sort of unlocks something, and
Yes.
your curiosity is aroused and you start reading and experiencing other things. Truth
Hmm.
doesn't come just in one, like, thing.
Keep talking. My dog almost stepped on my cord.
Oh,
We're good. The light almost came down, but we're fine. Actually, go to sleep. Anyway, keep going.
yeah, when truth is, you know, fed to you in a straw rather than swimming in it. That to me is the difference.
That is such a good visual. I'm such a visual person, and that is like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it also like puts a lot of pressure, or it takes the responsibility off of the individual, because it's like, oh, if I just trust this person and what it's telling me, I don't have to think for myself. I don't have to think,
Yeah.
that's a big thing that I had to start doing. And also like even today, like 10 years later, I'm still like, oops, I'm accidentally relying on my partner to know how to do this thing, or oh, what do you think about that? Like now I am thinking for myself, and the beliefs that I hold, even if for a very short moment, like I can be like, I chose that, and
Yep.
this is why, instead of I just believe the Bible because it says it's true, so can't question that.
Yeah, I remember I've actually had people sit down in front of my pastor's desk and say to me, "Look, we pay you to tell us what to think."
No.
Yeah, yeah, and
Wow.
that was opening for me because it made me realize that that's what people figured my job was to tell them exactly how they should believe, and it took all the responsibility off of them. All they had to do was agree and believe, and that was it. They didn't have to process anything, or like
Hmm.
you say, they didn't have to think at all. They just had to copy, like a parrot, and they would be fine rather than understanding, which
Yeah,
leads to them. But yeah, I'm so glad I'm out of that culture, that context. It was, suffocating.
me too. Yeah, suffocating is a good word for it. Yeah. And this is so random. I mean, I told you in the beginning, I'm letting my ADHD lead the
Go
way
for
in
it.
these questions.
You have ADHD mouth and I have ADHD ears, so we're okay.
Perfect. I'm thinking of when a pastor or a youth group leader, or whoever's like looked up to in a church position or
Mhm.
missions or whatever, like when you are told that you're leading and everyone is just going to follow you and they're not going to think, you just have to, whatever. It puts so much more pressure on that spiritual leader,
Mhm.
to not fuck up or not say the wrong thing or whatever. And so I'm wondering, like, this is super random, but the amount of the pastor had an affair or whatever, and specifically the consensual affairs is what I'm talking about. What if the pastor and the wife or whoever, pastor and his wife is the example just for ease of clarity, like maybe they wanted to experiment with an open relationship or whatever, and it's so much easier instead of like being honest about what they wanted to explore together as they grow together.
Mm.
Oh, it's just easier to say like, oh, the one of them fucked up and had an affair, other than like be honest about, no, we just wanted to try it out. You know what I mean?
Good luck with that though in a church. I mean,
I know, right?
I can't. I can't. I
I
can't
can't
imagine.
even imagine.
Mean, I do think there are issues with, power differentials, like with, when a pastor has an affair with a congregant or whatever
Mm,
issues there in terms of power, but the abuse of power, but yeah,
right.
I mean, a pastor and his wife or her wife, a husband or whatever, wanting to have
Hmm.
an open relationship, I just can't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that
I'm
would
I'm
be,
okay with open relationships, but I can't see any church that
yeah.
would support that at this point anyway.
At this point, yeah, even like the church I was going to in LA 10, well, it was more like 8 years ago now. My partner and I chose it because it was so much more inclusive and
Mm,
open and everything. But then like as we got more involved and started really becoming a part of it, and I would help with worship sometimes and whatever, like we started seeing like, oh, this is like has aspects that are different, but there's also aspects that are exactly the same as all the churches that fucked
yeah,
people over. Like
yeah,
it's so rare, just like it's so rare to find Christians who are going to be there for you while you're deconstructing. It's so rare to find churches that are actually good churches.
yeah. I know, I mean, I had this was years ago now, but after I left the ministry and there was somebody who said, "Hey, you gotta come to our church. It's really open and affirming and welcoming and laid back," and I went, and after a few Sundays, I was like, I can't go back there." I found the sermons and the pastor way too triggering, man. Like, he was just, like, really bossy and kind of I could feel myself pushing myself back in the chair to try to get away from him, you know?
No.
And I just can't do it. I just can't do it. If I can smell control from a
Mhm.
mile away, I can smell authority from a mile away, and I'm not gonna go anywhere near it. But, years ago, I saw an article, I forget where I read it, but it was about a shepherd in Angola, and I think he was being featured because he's this really rugged looking, young, handsome guy in, furs and leather and up in the mountains of Angola
Yeah.
or somewhere, and just him with his sheep. And what was interesting was the sheep were never like in line behind him. They were always like around him or he was following them.
Huh.
Um, and they were just grazing and then they would wander and he would follow them. And his job was just to sort of protect them and keep them from harm and
Hmm.
from hurting themselves. But I thought that's the picture of a shepherd, just wandering around with the sheep. It's not out front leadership kind of thing,
Yes.
and just lets the sheep wander and graze and, it wasn't bossy or controlling or authoritative or,
Right.
vision oriented or goal oriented and all that kind of bullshit. And
Mhm.
I thought that was a really, really good picture of what a shepherd should be. And so that's what I kind of look like in communities or people who are called pastors and so on. If they have that quality where they just let people be free
Mhm.
and let them drive their own life, to me, it's very rare though.
It's reminding me, one, your cartoons specifically
Mhm.
focus, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of them focus on like a sheep being like the center of it, which I really love because it just highlights the importance of each individual person or human.
Right, right, yeah.
So I think that's really cool. And with humanizing things too, have you seen the movie Mary Magdalene with Joaquin Phoenix as Jesus?
I don't think I have.
Okay, Rooney Mara, I think that's her name. She's Mary Magdalene.
Okay, okay.
Your art is reminding me of this because this was the first movie, because you have the Passion of the Christ and it's like
Yeah,
gory and blah, 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 Jesus is divine, blah blah. This movie, Mary Magdalene, it portrays Jesus so human that like I could say that before then, whenever I would think about Jesus, I would feel really triggered. But after watching this movie, it really helped me because, like, without spoiling it, like, an example is after Jesus, like, healed someone, he was fucking exhausted and just was passed out. And his, disciples or the people who
Right,
followed him had to, like,
right.
carry him out because, like, wherever power that came from, that zaps you.
Mhm.
And then just like the relationship with Mary Magdalene, not it doesn't portray them as married or anything, which when I was still Christian, if anyone was ever like, they were married, I would be like, that's such blasphemy. How could you ever say that? And now I'm like, maybe like anything is possible,
Yeah,
way less triggered by,
yeah, yeah.
conspiracy theories. But
Mhm.
yeah, but even like with Judas, he betrayed Jesus? Yeah. Bible stories are like leaving my brain after so many years. Like it's an interesting example too. Like, maybe he just like didn't know what to do or really needed the money or blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yeah,
so like with the whole when you're leaving the church or deconstructing or having questions or your friend or loved ones having questions, like,
yeah.
it's scary to allow yourself to think that way and like that spiritual paranoia can kick in for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Is that something you ever experienced?
But yeah, what's cool is, art can change our minds.
Mhm.
So, like, you watch a movie and it totally something like your perception of Jesus or whatever. I mean, that happens to me a lot too, where,
Hmm.
I see a painting or I hear a piece of music or watch a movie and it answers a question or it changes my mind. I just love the power of that, how it,
Same. Mhm.
I'm gonna watch Mary Magdalene. I remember I was in the Boston Museum of Fine Arts one time and saw this paint,
Oh.
Holy Family maybe, or Marsan is a French painter, and it shows the baby Jesus in Mary's arms at night, and she's sleeping in the arms of the Sphinx in Egypt.
Ooh,
He's sleeping,
cool.
Jesus is in her arms, and Joseph is asleep on the desert floor with the donkey tied and a little campfire, and
Mm.
there's stars in the sky, and that painting blew my mind. I stood in front of it for a couple hours, like, it would just blew my mind because it made me
Wow.
that, like, we tend to want the gospel to, like, Christians, evangelical Christians,
Mhm.
this is what it means, and this is who it's for, and we are right, and all the rest of you all are wrong. And this painting blew that right out of the water. It was like
Wow.
showing Jesus in Egypt, and shining, and just the humanity of it too
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
struck home. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I went off on the
No,
art
yeah,
tangent.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Insert the image of the
Yeah,
painting here.
that's what it's called, Flight to Egypt. Yeah.
Flight to Egypt. Ooh, that's super interesting. Have you read the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah.
My
And saw
god.
the movie, right? It wa
Yeah, I read the book and watched the director's cut of the movie, but the movie does not even come close to. I mean, the storyline is interesting and cool and whatever, but
Right,
anytime I would fact check certain things about the Mary Magdalene story, it
right.
would like it's like either a real thing or something that, it would fact check itself or whatever. There's proof or something like that. And maybe not every single thing, but almost every single thing. And I was like, "What? This is crazy." Like my mind was extra blown whenever when I read the Da Vinci Code. Like the code of the brethren and like,
You know what? My dad, he just died last year, and we
"Oh,
had
I'm
a
so
very
sorry."
difficult relationship, but
Mm.
he did kind of spark that curiosity in my brain,
Hmm.
about like that. So he was very much into conspiracy kinda theory stuff too.
Mm.
And I remember when I was a teenager reading a book called Chariots of the Gods, I think.
Okay.
It's about, like, all these huge land formations around the world, like the pyramids or the crop circles or these ancient hieroglyphics and Mayan culture and, like,
Yeah.
and aliens, possibility of aliens and large footprints in Africa and like all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
My mind sort of, and also he was from Britain. He immigrated from the UK,
really?
and when he was 16, but he was
Wow.
a member of no, he believed that Britain was the lost tribe of Israel, and
Whoa.
that's the whole Knights Templar thing,
Wow,
and
yeah.
Holy Grail and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of grew up on all that kind of mythology stuff and
Wow.
conspiracy stuff and everything. So part of me, a lot of me is like, no,
Yeah.
I don't believe it. But there is curiosity though. There, it's planted.
When you posted about us having the
Mm.
podcast, your story, and then you tagged me, I was like, I can't wait to click add to my story. And when I clicked it, my phone started glitching out like majorly. And I was like, oh, I'll try again later. I'll close the app, blah, blah. Still not working. And I was like, oh my God, is it the devil not wanting us to talk? Like, and then I was like, no, don't think that way. It's not. It's really not. People are
Yeah,
dying. And you think God doesn't
yeah,
want us to talk.
the devil and I were very close when I was a teenager. I don't mean like this close. I mean the devil. I was preoccupied with Satan and
Really?
demons, and oh man,
Tell me
like
more
I have
if you're
been
comfortable.
to exorcisms and
Really?
been a part of exorcisms, and I went to a couple of conferences on demonology. And back when Hal Lindsey wrote "Satan is alive and well on planet Earth," I I was absolutely terrified of Satan and
Whoa.
demons. And like now I don't subscribe to that at all, but,
Mm.
at the time, though, it absolutely dominated my life. Yeah,
Whoa.
was horrified. I was scared shitless, and because I was being taught so much about Satan and I was obsessing about it, and I was hearing things about witches and animals being found skinned alive and baby sacrifices and, like, all this demonology stuff going on and Satanism and all this stuff, so I had to deconstruct from that as well. Yeah, for
I
sure.
bet you were double fisting the deconstruction for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, so you going to these exorcisms and conferences, was that you deciding to go or you being brought to them?
No, I was complicit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was fascinating, and the thing is, when you're told Satan's real and demons are real, and
Mhm.
all you need is one negative thought, and Satan can slip in there,
Yep.
or demon you can get demon possessed or there's demon possessed and there's demon obsessed,
Oh,
something I can't remember,
yeah.
but was always afraid that, a demon was gonna get in there,
My
and
God.
yeah, and, hearing demons in the basement and terrifying.
No.
Yeah, and then
Whoa.
to, exorcisms and stuff, yeah, and I've had people, try to cast demons out of me too, so it was a whole thing. Yeah.
Was the people trying to cast demons out of you, was that while you were leaving or while you were still Christian?
Still a Christian, but I was always kind of, abrasive, maybe, like, questioning. An
Yeah.
irritant, not abrasive, but I was an irritant, and,
Mm,
just because of the questions I would ask or things like that, and
right.
I've been told had a demon or whatever, but that doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
Good.
It would have when I was younger for sure.
Oh my god, that is so terrifying. Because I was never, like, as into it as you, but definitely, like, I was being told by my parents that, like, Satan is manipulating me, that my partner is a wolf dressed in sheep's clothing, like,
Yeah.
I'm potentially demon possessed. God's gonna kill one of your siblings to like bring you back, kind of thing. So that
Yikes.
fear mongering is, I can totally relate to that. It is freaky.
Fear-mongering for sure.
Yeah,
Fear-mongering. That's a big deal. That's one of their favorite tools,
it
fear-mongering.
is.
It is.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you're on the other side of that though. Does it
Yeah.
still sometimes like pop up like randomly or is it mostly smooth sailing?
It's mostly gone. I mean, I remember, the day I told the church I was leaving the ministry I was in. Lisa was working a night shift and I was in bed. And I was like, what the fuck have I done? What have I
Oh,
done? And because, I didn't know what I was going to do next. Right.
yeah.
And thinking now I'm surely going to hell, even though I didn't believe in hell anymore.
Whoa.
I definitely even though I didn't believe in it, right? It was like
Yeah.
it was a hard yeah, it was hard to get
Yeah.
through that, but now that's all behind me. I don't think that way anymore, but it took a while. So for your listeners who are deconstructing and questioning, and they're in that sort of honeymoon period of deconstructing and everything, it can be really scary. Even you might think you're going to hell even though you don't believe in it anymore, kind of
Mm,
thing, all that stuff, but it passes. I promise you, it does go away. You just have to buckle up, wear a helmet, you'll get through it.
yeah.
Promise. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's super important because I think a lot of people, it's too scary and it's too confrontational to their inner self and self-reflection that they end up running back because who they really are or
Yep.
who they think they are, who they think God thinks they are, maybe, is bad and scary and sinful. So I'm just going to
Yeah.
run back to what I came from because that feels safer, even though that's, maybe not as healthy or.
I think there's a tipping point where, and I've seen it just like you have, where people I've known who are starting to deconstruct and everything, and they
Hmm.
realize life isn't as fun anymore. I miss the community. I miss my relationship with Jesus or whatever. I don't feel the Holy Spirit the same way anymore or whatever. And
Hmm.
they go In fact, they go further back, entrench themselves there, and because they don't want it to happen to them again. But there's a
Right.
tipping point where if you just keep going, keep your integrity, be honest, keep questioning, and you'll get to that point where you realize, whew, it's kind of like a gravitational pull. The further away
Mm.
you from the gravitational body, the less the so
Mm.
eventually you get to that point where you can float.
Yes, you can flow, you're hovering.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And I think also when people see a loved one go through deconstruction, they're like, fuck no, I'm not going through what they are going through,
Mhm,
excommunication or
mhm,
that loss of community. And it's
mhm.
like the loss of community and it doesn't have to happen. Like it's
Right.
because of the culture of the church
Yeah.
essentially is just like nobody can, oh, you're still friends with so and so, like they're off the rail, they live with their boyfriend. How could you like support them by being friends with them? And it's just like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
We're still talking about that shit. Like, what?
When I left the church, and I was feeling really, really sad about missing community, I decided to read up on cults and stuff. And I
Mhm.
wasn't in a cult, but it had a lot of cult-like qualities.
Mm.
So I was reading up on cults and I was watching documentaries on cults. There was a CNN documentary on a cult in Hawaii, and there was the Osho
Yep.
cult in maybe
Yeah.
Colorado. um, Chogyam Trungpa's cult, the Tibetan Buddhist one, and then a whole bunch of different cults. And every people they interviewed that were a part of the cult, every person missed the community. And they
Hmm.
were in tears. They missed the intensity of intimacy that they experienced in that community, even though they were being severely abused and their money
Right.
was taken. They were separated from their families,
Mhm.
sexual assault, real spiritual abuse going on. And they knew it
Mhm.
after they left, but they also were crying because they missed the community. Man alive, I realized, holy smokes. Yep, that's me. I mean, I don't want to go back, but holy moly, do I ever miss the community that we
Mm.
experienced there? But then that made me question, is that the only way you can have that kind of community is if you sign up for the abuse? You know what I
Mic
mean?
drop. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good one. Another art piece idea?
No, it's
Yeah.
true though, right? Like
Yeah, it's so
every
true.
intense community experience that Lisa and I had, we look back and was like, that wasn't healthy.
Right.
So it makes me wonder, is that community that we miss, do we really want that? You know what I mean?
Right.
I still have not closed that book, but it is a
Mm.
big question for me. Is it possible to have really intense community that you love without being abused?
Mm.
taken advantage of or surrendering your life in some way, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, it's a big
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, I think the missions organization I grew up in, like,
Sure.
you are, all you have on the mission field is your coworker missionaries because you speak the same language, you know your
Mhm.
cultures and whatever. And then when you get into the topic of, trigger warning, everybody, when you get into the topic of like missionaries or the dorm dad missionaries, like committing the child sexual assault, which is, there's multiple cases going on in my old mission, which is another reason why I think I have started calling it a cult because of all the cover-ups and all the NDAs and everything. Um, the most recent one being 2024, 2025. It's been going on like literally decades. But with the community aspect, it's like the harmful, abusive parts of it is like, oh, we don't need to turn you into the police. We'll just figure it out. I know you're sorry. I can feel that you're sorry. So it's okay. We'll just
Yep,
disciple you a little harder,
yep,
Just go to this dorm instead of working at the last dorm. Like no one will remember you. So it's like,
yep,
yeah, there's a lot of toxic aspects of community out there, especially
yeah,
when it's all you have, I think.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely cult-like characteristics for sure. When it's all kept inside, we'll handle it inside, you know? Keep it in the family. When you watch any documentaries or read any stories of people who've been sexually abused or assaulted or whatever inside a family system, the family will do everything in its power to keep it inside the family and
Yes.
deal with it internally, you know? And,
Right.
yeah.
Did you watch the documentary Shiny Happy People?
Yes.
The Duggar family documentary?
Yes, 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 yes.
That
You
was
know,
great.
people I have a friend who used to be a part of the same sort of church culture I grew up in, and he was married and then, to somebody who was the same, and they got divorced, and then now he's, uh, has a new partner. This is over 10 years now they've been
Oh,
together, and, she's Roman Catholic background but really not a practicing religious at all. Neither is he. But we'll
huh.
get together. And so Lisa and I came out of that culture. My friend came out of that culture, but his partner not. And we'll tell stories and she stares at us like we are completely crazy. Like she's like, "What?
Man.
You guys did that?" Like she just can't fathom the stuff that went on, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like, so when people watch these documentaries, like the Duggars or Shiny Happy People and all this kind of stuff, and they're like shocked,
Mhm.
I'm like, no, this makes total sense. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day someone makes a documentary about my missions organization because it's just like
Are you going to
there's
be interviewed?
yeah, why not? I feel like I owe it to the people who can't be interviewed or the people who've taken their lives because of being
Oh,
silenced and because there has been a few and or the people in ongoing court cases against the mission who, it would probably be a conflict of I don't know. I don't know the legality of that, but I don't know if they could be interviewed. But if
yeah,
whatever.
especially if you signed an NDA or anything like that.
Exactly, yeah. So I guess that's the reason I started rewriting Eden is if I can help in any way, then
Yeah.
I have to, I guess. Same with you and your art.
I was part of a ministry. I helped a ministry plant a church. I came down to the States and planted a church in New Hampshire for this
Hmm.
ministry. And I wasn't there long and I realized this is not good.
No.
And I started challenging the leader on some of the things he was doing and teaching and stuff.
Yeah.
I took a big chance because we moved down there with our 3 kids and bought a house and, all this kind of
Oh
stuff.
my god, wow.
And, I was fired 6 months after I got there.
Josh.
But they forced me to sign an NDA or I would not get any more of my pay or, any kind of a severance package or
Oh,
anything, and so I've got a wife and kids and a house I just bought, a car we just bought, all this kind of stuff, and the moment I'm not, employed in the US, I'm an illegal alien and would have to get back to Canada as soon as I could.
oh
So
my god.
they were forcing me to sign an NDA or else I wouldn't get any more money or the severance check or anything like that, and I said, "No, I didn't sign the NDA." And
Whoa.
so we just had to scramble. Fortunately, it worked out and
Good.
everything worked out.
Oh
But
my god.
that was obvious to me. I got out of that. It was obviously very much like a cult, and he
Mm,
was very much like a cult leader, absolutely, and, he's dead now, but man, I that was, by the skin of our teeth, got out of that place.
holy cow. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I'm so glad you got out of that. Oh my god. I can't even I can't even
Isn't it
imagine.
weird though? Isn't it weird though, the cultures we've come out of and look at us now, like the way we're talking, the things we're talking about, the things that interest us and
Yeah.
all that, it's like night and day.
Night and
And a
day.
lot of people are like, "You used to be Pentecostal?" Or whatever. Or
Yeah.
"You used to be Vineyard?" Like, aren't they like and they don't know why I'm so, you know,
This.
like
Yeah.
radical now or, using swear words or doing my sexy Sunday cartoons or whatever, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love in your newsletter the dad jokes part. That's like one of my favorite parts. Everyone subscribe to David's newsletter. That's so good. I
Yeah,
look forward to reading them.
I always find the best ones, so they're pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone, check the description for all of David's links to connect with him and check out his artwork. Go give him a follow. Purchase the art piece that resonates with you and stood out. You can even commission a piece by him inspired by your own journey, which is
Yeah.
badass as fuck. Please like, subscribe, and share this with a loved one that came to mind while you were listening to this episode. David, thank you so much for being here today. See you guys in
Thanks,
the next
Avery. It's been a
episode.
blast.
So good.